Denalli National Park, Alaska. Here, breathtaking heights
difficult to see
and subarctic storms are the elements of life and death.
It's not easy to watch somebody dying right in front of you.
Up high and down low. What does it take to survive?
God, this is incredible.
This is the wilderness and the wildness of Denalli. Denalli National Park sits at the top of the world. Just 200 miles from the Arctic Circle. At least 28 peaks soar over 2 miles high. Hundreds of glaciers fill the valleys. 14 of them longer than the island of Manhattan. It's so hostile, no sentient being can long survive its upper limits. So extreme, the temperature can dip to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So wild, only the hardiest creatures endure. It's no place for a faint heart. From the grasslands below to the frozen heights, Denalli, the park and its preserves, cover an incredible 6 million acres. Larger than the state of Massachusetts. The crown jewel of this wilderness, one giant mountain. The highest point in North America. Mount McKinley. Alaskans call it Denalli, the high one. 20,320 feet. Altitude plays a crucial role on the mountain and throughout Denalli National Park. It determines what it takes to survive. And it defines 3 unique ecosystems: the taiga, the tundra, and the alpine. Each has its own code of survival. At the highest elevation, the alpine region. The towering mountains of the Alaska Range. Survival in the frost-bitten heights of the alpine is the most extraordinary challenge.
When it's bad, boy, it can feel like the end of the world.
The optimum climbing season is just 3 months of every year. But that's no guarantee of clear skies. In Denalli, there are more than 1.5 million acres of tundra. Enough to cover Rhode Island almost twice. This zone is defined by a secret, so hidden that most humans will never see it. For much of the year, Denalli's tundra region is a carpet of green. Yet, remarkably, ice is everywhere. It's too cold here for the ground to completely melt. That makes for a year-round layer of frozen soil called permafrost. In some of the coldest areas, permafrost can reach 300 feet thick. Only grass and plants with short roots can take hold in the thin layer of soil. No large trees at all. When naturalist Charles Sheldon first explored the region in 1906, he was spellbound by massive flocks of the snow-white creature. He petitioned the federal government for their protection, and in 1917, Congress created Denalli National Park. Mount Margaret.
It's deceptive how big this land is. There's times when you sit back and you look out there and you just think, my goodness, this place is huge.
Craig's trek is not without risk. Wide open spaces leave animals and people vulnerable. The tundra's predators include more than 100 gray wolves and more than 300 grizzly bears. The higher you go in Denalli, the more severe the environment. The highest elevation is the Alpine region, the towering mountains of the Alaska Range. Survival in the Alpine can take grit, determination, and luck. Altitude range, 1,000 to 20,320 feet. Half of Denalli National Park is taken up by this land. Windswept and frozen, as desolate as another planet. It's too cold for plants and too dry. Almost every drop of water is frozen. Quench your thirst with too much snow, and you'll be chilled to death from the inside out. 1 million acres of the Alpine is covered by glaciers. These rivers of ice sculpt some of the most stunning formations in the Alaska Range. But there's more than what meets the eye. Pulled by gravity, glaciers forge downhill at an average rate of less than 1 foot per year. As they creep along, they carve out rock and soil, changing the shape of the valley. And these lumbering giants develop a deadly edge. Crevasses are deep cracks in glaciers. They form when a sliding glacier moves over obstacles. In Denalli, crevasses can be 100 feet deep. A wrong step can be your last. Higher up in the Alpine, the temperature drops further. Too cold even for an ice worm. Only one creature larger than a microbe challenges this forbidden zone. Humans. Eight head in. They plan to hike to Denalli's summit. Their journey will show us what it takes to survive in the upper Alpine. First, they must reach base camp. Their precarious flight path, below cloud and around rock. Their landing strip, under the tallest mountain in North America. Every year, over 1,100 climbers fly into Denalli's base camp. From here, they must brave extreme conditions to reach the summit of this giant mountain. About half won't make it. Base camp altitude, 7,200 feet. About a third of the way up.
Heck of a ride, huh?
team leader Andy Rich. This is his 6th trip up the mountain. Andy and his junior guide are paid to climb. It's their job to take this team to the summit of Denalli and bring each member back alive.
The job I have ahead of me is making sure that this whole group, all 8 of us, maintain good health throughout this expedition and try to maximize our chances of success.
For the other 6, Denalli is an irresistible personal challenge, the ultimate experience of a wilderness and the ambition of a lifetime.
I'm just drinking it in. It is a magnificently beautiful place. And all fears, all anxieties out the door.
Base camp may be their last chance to soak up the luxuries.
Since we can still afford it down here, since it's still pretty warm, we might as well take advantage. Up there, we will not be able to do it. So there will be no washing for like the next 3 weeks.
Denalli's up that way, kind of in the clouds up there, can't quite see it. We'll probably spend the night here tonight and just kind of get ourselves settled into being here.
The route to the summit is 18 miles one way. Not just a hike, but a marathon of survival. With every step, Denalli cooks up extreme trials.
As we get up higher on the mountain, we'll really need to be super diligent about the little clips and making sure the thing is anchored before, making sure the thing is anchored. We do not want our tents to blow away.
Even before they get underway, Andy Rich and his fellow climbers are served their first ordeal. A massive front is stalled overhead. Total whiteout.
We've only slept a couple hours, and it's definitely snowing out there. And but we're gonna get up and go. Because if we wait until tomorrow during the day and do this during the rain, it'll be even worse.
Gusts of up to 45 miles per hour make it difficult to see. Every step's a battle. It's nearly impossible to keep a straight course.
Difficult to see. Doing what we can. An awful lot of white out there, but I'm trying to make it happen.
Denalli lives up to the reputation of having some of the worst weather on the planet.
Denalli, the mountain, is so high it affects weather. The mountain is part of a giant atmospheric barricade. The Alaska Range stalls cold fronts that move in from the south. The result is astonishing amounts of precipitation, gale-force winds, and sometimes zero visibility.
It can be a treacherous mountain. When it's bad, boy, it can feel like the end of the world.
After a 7-hour slog through a ferocious snowstorm, the team reaches Camp 2. They're now over halfway up Denalli at 11,200 feet. Even at camp, the mountain offers little sanctuary. They must dig or be buried alive.
You gotta survive up here as well as climb.
Falling ice and rock are unpredictable threats.
If you really think it's coming close to you, it's worth just kind of like hunkering down below your pack. If that thing's gonna hit you, let it hit your pack. Not pretty, but that's the way it is.
The rocks they're worried about are solid granite. They're pieces of a giant mountain that still grows. It's hard to imagine Alaska before Denali. But at one time, this land was at the bottom of the sea. About 6 million years ago, as the Pacific tectonic plate collided with North America, part of it buckled and rose out of the ocean. It eventually created the Alaska Range. Meanwhile, a giant pool of magma that had long ago cooled into granite was pushed skyward by tectonic forces. Denali was born. The mountain continues to rise 1 millimeter per year. Besides falling debris, another great concern at this altitude, dangerously thin air. The higher you go on Denali, the lower the atmospheric pressure. This creates air with far fewer oxygen molecules than at sea level.
You know, every step, you're short of breath. It's exhausting. Everything's exhausting.
Human lungs have evolved to work best in low altitudes.
Same conditions, minus the altitude, down at sea level, wouldn't be that hard at all. But the altitude in there, it's a different story. It's difficult. Dangerous.
Nearing 14,000 feet on North America's highest mountain, and climbers have 40% less air available to breathe. Barely enough to fuel their overtaxed bodies.
The altitude's hitting a bunch of people. I think a lot of folks are feeling the effects of it for sure.
As we get higher on the mountain, it's very exposed. It doesn't get much more exposed than that. You know, if we're lucky, we get conditions that we're able to manage and sneak through, but really, that's all it is. We're just sneaking through.
They near Camp 3. Here, the team will take a day off to let their bodies adjust.
Here you're reminded just so quickly that it can be done just like that. Whether it's weather, whether it's a fall, whether it's a sickness that comes on, you know, a rock that tumbles, who knows?
Survival on Denali is a gamble. On Denali, 96 climbers have died. Gale force winds can send a person careening down the mountain. 43 have perished in falls. Without protection, sub-zero temperatures can cause frostbite and ultimately kill. 19 have succumbed to this hypothermic exposure. With little warning, a massive avalanche can destroy most everything in its path. Throughout the range, such slides have killed 22 people. In the Alpine, death can be violent and lonely. On Denali alone, 35 bodies lay abandoned, their final resting place unknown or too precarious for recovery. Now, Andy and his team must face their worst fears. A camp ranger brings news. There's trouble. A climber with another party has collapsed 1,000 feet up.
So they came over, they asked us, we were in a place where we could help out with the rescue. So we kind of scrambled to get our act together.
Andy and his junior guide rush out of camp to help.
He had a pulse and he was breathing, but just so faintly that they were difficult to detect.
At high altitudes, problems hidden within the human body can quickly emerge. In the climber's case, the lack of oxygen caused a pulmonary condition to surface. He died from a heart attack.
I wouldn't say our spirits are super high. There's a lot of, I don't know, it's not easy to watch somebody die on the route right in front of you.
It's dramatic evidence. No human is meant to live here.
It's one step in front of the other. Keep on going.
This is the deadliest time on Denali. Nearly half of all deaths occur on summit day. Erratic conditions, extreme temperatures, and climber fatigue, all potentially fatal. At 17,200 feet, the highest point in North America is within reach. Little more than half a mile in elevation to go. But in true Denali fashion, there's one last gauntlet. Storm clouds loom.
Was it thunder? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's thunder.
Andy and the crew must now complete the 10-hour trek to Denali's summit and back before bad weather hits.
We're going, David. Ready for action?
Yes.
All right.
Let's make it happen. Let's make sure we get back before some changes set in.
These humans have struggled through inhuman conditions. Now, the ultimate reward. They make it to the summit of Denali. Some only barely.
Oh my God. Nice job, David!
This is the view at the top of North America. At one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, the team's stay is only temporary. They can visit for just a few moments.
It's been a heck of a journey. We're glad to be here.
Oh yeah.
Easy it's not.
The summit of this mountain is the pinnacle of a continent. But in Denali, there is one wonder that soars even further into the heavens. Well above the wilderness and into the thermosphere, the Aurora Borealis. Denalli, the high one, gets a magic halo. This dazzling light display is mostly seen near the poles. Denalli is one of the best places to view it on Earth. Here's how it works. 93 million miles away, solar flares riddle the sun. These giant explosions blast solar radiation into space, hurtling towards Earth at nearly the speed of light. The Earth's magnetic fields intercept this energy and channel it towards the poles. These are those channels. This is literally the outer limit of Denalli. From this heavenly height, we see Denalli's 3 habitats as one amazing wilderness. At each level, elevation helps determine what it takes to survive. At the highest levels, humans struggle to find a balance with nature. That struggle can come at a high cost. Nature is always in control. There is a fine line between living and surviving. Hardly anywhere else is that line so thin. That's what makes Denalli the unique wonder that it is. A true test of limits. A place of marvels. Mysterious and totally wild. Yosemite, land of giants. A wilderness of wild extremes.
This is like being right under the lip of a breaking wave.
Of towering stone and thundering water.